Good morning, Internet. So just trying something new today. I am in the process of like cleaning up and setting up my office at the moment. This is kind of what ends up happening sometimes when it's like I go through a fever of 5 or 6 projects and then I have a new project and then everything's a mess and it's like, oh, I gotta pick things up. It's not just picking things up, it's like recalibrating the workspace for projects. And I figured I could just ramble and put the phone on while I do so. So, you can watch this if you want. You're just going to watch me picking up my workspace, or you can just cut the video off and listen or whatever if you wanted to. But anyway, so like today, I guess what I was thinking about talking about was, I'm going to do tutorials and things on here like I mentioned before. That's still going to be a thing. But it's not really, like, that's good and all, but I kind of want to accomplish a little bit more with what I do. Specifically like what like motivations and trying to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish as an artist. That's kind of a more important conversation to me. Not that, again, we'll still do the tutorials. I actually have some ideas on that too. I may actually be doing lessons proper here soon. We're kind of guinea pigging some stuff out at the moment with that. But anyway, so what I want to talk about on today's video is just basically like your motivations and what you're doing as an artist and success and all that shit and the real complicated deep talks that you try to get into with this stuff. So yeah, well, like, I guess what I'll do is I'll talk about like what I'm trying to accomplish. Feel free to apply my sage or stupid advice to your situation and see if it helps or makes things fit. So ultimately, like, what I'm trying to do with my stuff, like, it's always been an important thing for me to have like a no compromise situation in what I do. Like, not literally no compromise, but no compromise in what I do generally. So like what I mean by that is when I started doing art, it started out as just basically therapy, to kind of like clear my head. And it's just kind of grown into something more. Didn't expect it at all. But, you have to kind of roll with change, and I've rolled with change, and with the change, it's, become more of a thing that's a little bit more important in my life, or not really more important. Sorry, also it's morning, caffeine's kicking in, so I may struggle with words. I'm trying to express what I'm trying to say here. But it's evolved into something a little more of a business than I ever expected it to. And it had to be natural. It couldn't be forced, because I started painting as kind of a mental health thing for myself, which was great. It did what I needed it to do. And as I did it, like you do anything a lot, eventually you start to get better at it. And it evolved into something more. Like, it started as friends asking me to contribute to like projects like books and things. And then all of a sudden it was kind of a holy shit, I'm a published artist technically. It's not that big a deal, but it kind of is too, and then it kind of grew into something more. And when I was younger, like, I dabbled into commissions and stuff like that, but like really did not like it at first. I had a really bad first impression of going into that realm. And I know why now in hindsight. Hindsight is always 2020. And that was basically because I got myself into these projects that I wasn't comfortable doing. They didn't speak to me. And if that person out there, if there's people out there happen to be watching this, like, I'm sorry, I was kind of learning and growing and shit. But yeah, like, I tried it at first and it was like, it felt like money was just a bad compromise for the art. It was not coming from a place that I needed it to come from. And I had a bad time. And one of the first times I did that, it was so bad, like, I quit painting and building for like 6 months. So I was like, oh, we need to not do that, because like art needs to be there and it needs to be the foundation for me, because if it's gone, I don't have that creative outlet, and then I get grumpy and miserable. So that wasn't the move. So I needed to make sure that that foundation stayed there of basically, it's the creative outlet that I need, that I get joy from it, etc. So we didn't do anything for money for a while, and we just kept grinding and grinding and grinding. That was part of my path. And I needed to make sure that it was doing stuff that genuinely spoke to me, because if it doesn't speak to you, you're not going to do it. You're going to stop painting. You're going to drop off. It needs to create joy. And maybe painting is not for you, because some of you will try to do this path and it's just really not for you. And it's, you're not having a good time. And that's fine. And then it's just not for you. But if it really is for you, you got to make sure that you're making the most out of it to continue to grow in it. And a big piece of that, like I said, is making sure you're doing stuff you want to do. And that was a big thing for me. So for a long time, I was just making stuff for me, for fun, making sure it was shit that I wanted to do. I needed to figure out what I enjoyed the most too. That's a whole journey in itself, and I have a much better grasp on that now. And that can change over time. So like maybe you don't want to do the same thing over and over. And this may be an ADHD thing, I don't know, but like doing the same project over and over. Sometimes it's fun, and then sometimes it gets to be a real drag. And shout out to Millennial Model Mayhem, coined the term paintcation as like you need a little break from what you're doing, just something that kind of sparks interest again to kind of refresh. And that's been part of my process too. Right now, really painting printed stuff has kind of been my cup of tea. For the longest time, it was almost completely models, and models are still here. Models will come back when I'm ready for it, but that's part of the journey. But anyway, I guess what I was trying to get to with this is like, the journey does need to be genuine. And as far as like what I would consider success in this is like, not trying to copy other people. That's another thing when you start early in this journey, is you're going to learn stuff from people, and that's good and that's crucial. You should learn the chemistry of paint. You should learn chemistry in general if you're going to be creating things, like how stuff works, like why baking soda and super glue make a much stronger compound, and to understand that if you mix a lot of it, you can get a thermal runaway and it gets really hot, and all those important little lessons that you learn creating stuff like this. You learn those little things, as well as like what chemicals you don't, generally specifically what chemicals you don't mix together, or, trying new things, like trying to mix new stuff together and get cool results. Maybe be the first person to find a new way to make something. All that shit, you got to figure all that out and learn all that stuff. That's also important. As you grow, you're going to start to kind of find your voice, in my opinion, over time. And what that kind of looks like is like, your projects will start to probably lean in a direction over time generally. Now, like, you'll still probably do stuff every now and then that's kind of a little like not your normal quote unquote style. And I do that because like I have a style now, but every once in a while I might want to break from my style and do something different. I get inspired by something and then I kind of go chase it for a while, but I still come back to a style. But it's about, for me, like finding your voice. As I learned all the different techniques and as I did all the stuff that I did, I started to find my voice. And to kind of describe it at this point, because I've been doing this kind of art stuff for like a decade-ish, my voice has kind of come from this place that's like not really mini painting. Like I like making monsters and shit, but the actual art style for me came from like a lot of what I grew up with. Like I grew up with Saturday morning cartoons. I grew up with that kind of stuff, and it evolved over time, like into psychedelic art, because like psychedelic art was inspired by a lot of Saturday morning cartoon shit. So like my stuff will very often have wild and vivid colors, and that's because those are my main art influences. People like Brandon Graham and James Stokoe and Alex Gray and Giger. Like my stuff's always going to have a wild and weird style because it's what inspired me to kind of make my voice and things, and that makes my stuff a little different. But yeah, like don't go out there depends. Like if you just want to do this for fun and that's it, and you're not really trying to chase expression, by all means, like watch Dana Howe's videos and do what she does and have a good time. But like if you're chasing creative expression, I would say the goal isn't to try to be Dana Howe, isn't trying to be Marco Frazzoni or all those other greats out there. It's to find who you are and do your thing your own kind of separate way. Because remember, those people, the Marco Frazzonis of the world, the Dana Howes of the world, like, they found their own unique style and their own unique voice. And if they didn't take the advice I'm saying right now, we wouldn't have them here doing what they're doing. They'd just be copying somebody else. So like, that's really important to kind of keep in mind. But yeah, that's the artist part of it. And I guess like what you really want to aim for is like what I kind of would call success as an art project is like you have the idea of what you want this thing to be in your head and achieving what you were aiming for. It's not a matter of like how clean your paint strokes are. It's not a matter of like how smooth your transitions are and all the things, which it's good to learn that stuff. But it's a matter of like what you imagine the project to be versus bringing it to reality. Because to talk about a parallel, like in music, not every band that's awesome is the most technical band. Like if that's what they're going for, then they succeeded. Like I would say Dream Theater succeeds in doing what Dream Theater aims for, which is being extremely precise technical music that's very clean and mechanical, versus like Nirvana. Their music was very like rough and raw and emotional. And I think both of those bands achieved great success doing different things with music because they aim for something and they achieved it. At least I assume. I'm not in their head, but that's kind of what I pick up on. So that's what you should think about, I think, as an artist, if you're trying to make this a creative outlet, if you're trying to put your voice in the world, is focus on making something that comes from you, that comes from your expression and what you're aiming to pull off. And just kind of think of that as you go through this journey. If you're like a me that's watching this video 10 years ago kind of situation, you know, I guess I give advice to my past self and to all of you out there starting on this stuff is just to learn everything you can learn every technique you can learn, any medium you can try, do those things, and then try to find your voice over time, find the things that speak to you when you're creating, do that too. But just learn all that, absorb all that, push yourself out of your comfort zone too. If you want to grow as an artist, is another thing I would advise to you. As you do art, you're going to find some things that you're like really good at, and it's very tempting to get locked in and do the same thing over and over and over. I advise against that. Like, do it for a little while, like do it and kind of develop it and mold it. But once it's hit a point where it's like consistent, like you're consistently boom, 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 and it doesn't take a lot of effort or energy, then it might be time to consider shifting a little bit, trying something a little different that you haven't done before. And that'll help you grow too, and just kind of absorb this. And that's all. This has been a big thing. Another thing too, I would say is just make sure you practice a lot too. When I started to get, quote unquote, get good with painting, that came from me from like about 6 months of a period. Every morning I'd wake up and I'd paint for 90 minutes every morning, and that let me refine my techniques, work on my hand coordination with a brush. Because the way I work, if you're familiar with my stuff, is very just fast, and I just attack stuff really quickly and I get stuff done very quickly when I'm like working on stuff actively. Asterisk, we're not counting the ADHD where I stop and start shit. But when I'm actually painting a piece, I fly through it, and that's because I learned very good my eye-hand coordination and my technique and stuff to where I can just boom, 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 fire it out and work that way. And that came from practice just every day, which goes back to my earlier thing. Make sure you're doing the stuff that you want to, the stuff that you speak to, because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to do it every day for 90 minutes. That's the end of the day. If you're not going to do it consistently, you're not going to build up your technique. You're not going to get where you want to be. So that's kind of the thing too. And just, I guess that's really what I wanted to say today. It may have been a good bit of rambling, but it was just kind of, today I just want to make a video to kind of talk about the foundations of like, quote unquote, becoming an artist and chasing the success that you want. And I guess to kind of tail on this, like from where I'm at now I have this business that's taking off. It's very surreal to me. Like I work my 9-to-5 job, but now I actually have like an art business, quote unquote. Like I'm selling painted pieces now consistently. I'm selling my prints exponentially. Like that's taking off a lot. All this is taking off a lot, and I didn't expect it, but I did this. I got to this point without making compromises. In my Etsy shop, the stuff that I sell, I don't list shit that I don't like. If it doesn't speak to me, I don't really put it up there. I mean, there are some very few exceptions, but it's not stuff that I just hate. It's stuff that may not be my favorite thing. But really, you know, with the printing part of my business, what brings me joy in that is like, this is part of who I am. Like when I put out a product, I want it to be like an amazingly a good quality product. Like these prints and stuff are extremely clean. I want when you buy my product to be like the nicest fucking mini print you've ever purchased ever. So I'm aiming for with that. And it's like the joy from that, because there needs to be joy there. The joy from that business of printing comes from me giving you something cool to paint and you're excited about it. That's my drive to do that. And I didn't compromise, and I'm not compromising. You know, I could compromise. I could go to a chase to the bottom for prices, but that's not my demographic. I don't want you to come to me because I have cheap shit. I want you to come to me because I have good shit. I don't compromise there. You know, the main thing that I sell on my store, interestingly, is the stuff that I love the most. The Predator shit is probably it's definitely my biggest seller, especially these clear minis that I kind of cooked up. So yeah, like I'm not compromising now. I'm not going to compromise. Like once you compromise, then it's just kind of, it's a job. It's a job. Like, yeah, you can have a job and enjoy yourself, but like a job where it's just like, fuck, I got to get up in the morning and do this thing. Once you get that point, it's kind of game over for me. So I'm getting joy. I'm doing this. I am making money, but I'm making money having fun. I'm making money helping others have fun, make their projects, and it's good. I could definitely make a separate video talking about business and all that important stuff, which was a crucial factor in me continuing to grow what I'm doing. We could talk about that in another video if you want that, but yeah, that's all I had to say for today. I hope this helps somebody out there if you're starting out and you want to kind of do the stuff that I do, how I got to this point, what I aim for. So thanks for listening. Hope you all have a good morning.